How's it going, guys? John, the Basic Expert here, and in this video, since I've released the PDF of Whitebox to backers, it will soon be available for purchase from the general public. If you missed the Kickstarter, you'll be able to get Pod hopefully soon, by the end of the month, I hope, and you'll be able to get the PDF hopefully soon as well, or a combo of both. But I wanted to make a video talking about Zero Prep, because a while ago, someone, I don't remember who, you probably know who you are if you watch my channel regularly, but you had commented and asked, how do I start from nothing with Zero Prep? Like, if I'm interested in starting from absolutely nothing, where do I start? So obviously, as you're going to sit down to play, you got your players in front of you, they're going to be rolling up their characters. And I think the best place to start is with wilderness exploration, with a wilderness. Now, there's a couple ways you can go about this, and we'll cover that here. But let's say you want to start this, you have no map planned, you have no plan planned, you're just going to go based off of the rules. And something like Whitebox, which we're going to demonstrate this with my game, is a game that sort of presupposes a pulp fantasy, sort of science fantasy, weird world, right? It's a world where if you go through the swamps, there's a chance to see dinosaurs, but if you go through the forests, there are elves and orcs and hobgoblins in the forest. And if you go into the desert, if you so choose, you can have Burroughs-esque Martians and tribes and creatures that are there as well. So it's a very eclectic and strange world that you're adventuring in, very much pulpy in a lot of respects. And so to me, that makes it a lot easier to actually improvise and do that, because there's a lot of things that are open and there's a lot of ways that you can interpret things. And sometimes all you need to get started is some cues from random tables to get you going. That's the key to pretty much all of this. And so I think the best place to start in that sort of situation is you guys are making characters, or the characters are already made. Now we need a place to adventure, to start exploring. And the game can just start as a game of exploration. And so I'm going to give you a couple different ways that we can go about this. And I'll say there's a couple different ways you can start this as well. You might want to start with a main hex, and you might want to roll to determine what kind of village is in there, if any. You might want to put your characters in there and be like, you're on this hex. And I oftentimes do this a lot with my players as well, and they rather enjoy it. I actually tell them, tell me how you guys know each other. Why are you guys adventuring together? What is it about? Because this gets the players invested in the world, and it gives you an idea of what they want to do, what they want their characters to be. And this isn't involved in like some super long backstory, but it could be as simple as we were traveling from the west, and with a group of merchants, we got raided by orcs or bandits or something. We fled the slaughter, and now we're stuck in the middle of the wilderness, and now we're trying to explore and survive and get our way to some sort of place where we can rest and find shelter, food, supplies, these sorts of things. And we were sort of strangers that were on this merchant's caravan, but, since we've sort of been grouped together by necessity of survival, we're now adventuring together. That's a perfectly valid way of, I think, the players describing their start and an entrance into a campaign. And it sort of bypasses, in a lot of respects, the whole tavern trope, if you're tired of that. The players might decide, like, upon that, but they were hired as mercenary guards and decided to flee and save their own skin because it was hopeless, right? So they knew each other prior. They've been in adventuring for some time together, and now they bounced as soon as things were looking pretty sideways for this caravan that they're guarding. Maybe you decide to put a village in the hex or a city in the hex, and you decide to do in the starting hex. And you decide to do the whole starting in a tavern thing, or they're invited to an audience somewhere and something happens there. Like, there's a lot of different ways you could start this. But I think that, like, in this case, I think I would go with wilderness exploration. I would go with this caravan trope. I would go with something like that. Because I think that they're already going to be making their characters. They're already going to be starting equipment. They should be buying rations and water skins and things like that. And Whitebox does give you very simplified rules based off of the Outdoor Survival Board for obtaining resources of like rations and water, so that you can kind of go through and sort of maybe use the rations that you find as you're, hunting and gathering in the wilderness, as opposed to delving into your iron rations or your other type of rations that you may have. So with that said, how are we going to start this? And I think we're going to, again, start with hex generation. And so I'm in Foundry if you're interested. I'm going to go to the tile controls here. I'm going to open up a folder, and I have a bunch of things here of tiles that I made. If you want this tile set that I have done, I've used it in Worldographer, but I've also used it for this sort of purpose as well, and it makes sort of on the fly hex generation very easy to do and to generate. So we'll use this. We're going to roll a d8 to determine what our starting terrain is going to be like. So we'll roll a d8. We rolled a 2, which is desert. So we'll move this over here. And with my tiles, I find that if you set your world, which is like an aside, if you set your world at the normal basics here, I believe grid size 100 pixels, and you use my tile set your asset grid size to pixels to 1250, because these are like very large and they need to be shrunk down a little bit in order to fit properly on such a thing. And so if you set them to that setting, it will be very easy to just sort of do this. So we got desert. We're just going to take a desert and we're going to plop it right into here as part of our dungeon map. Perfect. I want to roll to see if anything is in this place, because let's say they're adventuring and they're just starting this one hex. Let's roll a percentile dice to see if there's anything in this starting hex for them. I think it's part of the fun of the exploration. So 92, that's well beyond the chance of there being any sort of inhabited place there. So let's go back up to here. We started in the desert. We're going to roll a d20. And let's go to desert. Where is it? Desert here. So we're going to roll a d20, and that's going to determine where the next, let's say they move north, or let's just say we're trying to generate like a nice little hex flower here around here of this adventuring area. As they're rolling up characters, deciding where to go next, we can determine this here. So let's roll a d20 for that northern area there. We got a 16. 16 is a pond, so we'll drag this pond out here. So they got a pond to the north. Let's go to the side here. And the pond is generally going to be, you want to use like the same hex, that terrain type as what you were already doing. So we'll roll another d20 to sort of go to the side here. And we got 9. So desert with a 9 is hills. We'll do some hills over here to the side. Now let's see if there's anything on this pond, actually. Let's roll some percentile dice to see if there's anything in that pond. 49, there's nothing there. Let's see about these hills. 69, nice. Nope, nothing there. All right. Let's go south here. We'll see if we can see anything in this. So we're in hills now. So now we got to switch to this one. We'll roll a d20 here. Our chances of different terrain are going to, you can see the ranges change based on that. So we got 20. We're into scrub. So we'll do this. And let's roll to see if there's anything in there. 67. Nope. Let's keep going around. So we're in scrub. And let's roll a d20 to determine what's in there. 17. That's just more scrub. Roll a percentile dice. Anything in that scrub area? Nothing. All right. We'll roll a d20 again. 20, which is more scrub. We'll roll percentile dice. Anything in there? Nope. Not with a 76. And we'll roll another d20 to see what's this hex. 19, that's more scrub. So we made a little hex flower. Let's see the thing in that one. 5. So we got something. So 5 is going to be a thorp. So I'm going to go back up here. I'm going to actually... lock these. And we'll go up into features, and we have like a thorp. So I have like some drawings here of like villages and things like that. So we'll put our thorp there. Represents like a little village there, and there's going to be 2d4 times 10 people there. Have a population of about 20 people in this thorp. So okay, cool. We've generated this area. There's nothing in these areas, but we would be checking for like maybe random encounters. So let's say like let's say as they've been exploring, they're in the desert hex. Let's say they're in the scrub hex, and which is kind of like a clear. We'll go with a clear hex here. So we'll roll a d4. Let's say there's a random encounter there at that point. So they encounter some men. So we're going to go to the men table. The man types. We'll roll for typical. And we'll roll a d12. We rolled a 10. So a 10 is a patriarch. So patriarch, if we go to the character classes, patriarch is an 8th level cleric. So once they reach 8th level, so I mean, this is kind of interesting. We'll go to the monsters here. We'll go to the monster description, and we'll go to M, and we'll go to men. There is a 5% chance that he has a magic item, so he doesn't have a magic item. He's a level 8 cleric. We could either roll based on the men table here, or like I said, if we wanted to, we could go back here and we could roll for he has 50 heavy cavalry. Uh, 30 mounted crossbowmen, and 100 heavy infantry. So where's this guy going? You know, this is when you would get into role playing with the characters. They've met this patriarch, this cleric, who's traveling with a rather large force, right? So he has 100 heavy infantry, 30 mounted crossbowmen, and 50 heavy cavalry. And where's he going with these guys? What's he doing? You could have some role playing aspects if you wanted to. Let's say we go to this. There's a 15% chance he's near his lair or where he resides, and so like 8. So he's near. Like if we encountered him here in this hex, you could, as they're traveling around, you could determine, hey, he has a camp here. Maybe he has a military camp here. Maybe there's a city here, which he's patriarch of, which is his lair. That could be something you decide on your own. You can figure that out. Now we got to figure out, like, what is he doing here? Like, let's say, let's go down to our oracles, and we'll go with middling. We'll roll a d20 and we'll just ask a question. Hey, is he on a military campaign or is he near his home? 4. So no, he's not on a military campaign. So that means he's near his home. So we could determine, like, there's a city here maybe, or a town. I think a patriarch would be someone who's going to be, that's a pretty high level person. He's going to be head of a church, head of these sorts of things. So we want to maybe go back to wilderness exploration, and we want to say that there's maybe a city here. Is there a city or a town? Let's go, is there a city here? If it's not a city, it's going to be a town. So we'll roll a d20 and go middling, just to see. 17, which is yes. So there's a city here. So we'll go back to wilderness exploration. And a city is going to have a population of 1d6 times 10,000. It's a city of 60,000 people that are, like, right here in this hex, right next to this city. So we want to pick something that looks like maybe a city marker of some kind. That's a ruin. I don't want that. We'll use this one because this one has, like, a little church symbol on it. So we'll say that's, like, his church. That's where he lives. And so now we've already established, these are 5-mile hexes, by the way, per the rules in White Box and 0E. So over here, we have a big city with 60,000 people in it, next to a village with 20 people in it. He's not on military campaign. Maybe he's just out patrolling. He's been out, you could start using these things, these oracles in White Box to sort of figure out, like, what he's doing, start asking questions of him. So maybe you use the patron table here to discover what his disposition is like. So we can roll a d20 of this cleric as he's talking to the players. So he's 20. He's eccentric. Okay. What are his desires? 10. Redemption. So how would we play that out? Maybe he's out patrolling. He's been, he's this patriarch cleric. He's this level 8 cleric. He did something wrong, and in order to gain back the trust of his deity or his god, he's out on himself with a quest. And maybe this could be something that the players help him with, right? Like, maybe they're like, hey, you could start figuring out, like, what it is that he's on redemption for, like, he neglected his duty, and this caused the death of a bunch of people in a village. Maybe it's the village that's right next door here, and they don't particularly like this cleric very much. This is how I'm using random rolls in my low to zero prep method to figure this out. And so already you can see we have this small little hex flower. We have, each hex is 5 miles. It's not a whole lot of space, but we have a city, we have a village, and we have a cleric who is out with a rather large force seeking redemption. And then what does that mean for the forces of the people that are with him, these soldiers that are following him? Are these people that are seeking redemption too? Are they people that believe in the cleric? Are they just mercenaries that he hired? According to the cleric rules, since we use those, these are faithful followers. They're super faithful followers. I think they are fanatically loyal to serve the cleric at no cost to the cleric. So this is like some sort of holy order of warriors, right? That are out patrolling. He's seeking redemption. What does that mean? Rolling with the characters, maybe he determines you could determine that somewhere far to the north is an oraclair or some mythical beast, and him and his men have to go slay it for redemption to be given to them, right? From their deity or from maybe from the church. They've been they're sort of on this thin ice thing. You're stripped, you're defrocked of your duties, and if you want back in, you got to go slay this beast that's far away because of the errors that you made, because of the mistakes that you made. And so he's like, I'd rather die trying to be redeemed than to not be redeemed at all. We've already made this interesting sort of adventure potential here, from a very small hex. And I think that's quite cool. I think that's the benefit of it. And we literally started with nothing. All we had was the rules in order to generate this. And so let's say let's say they travel north. Let's say it's whatever it is over here within this area. So we want to sort of generate some hexes that go up that way, and as the players are adventuring. So we'll go back to wilderness exploration. And we're in Scrub. We roll a d20. That's more Scrub. We'll put that there. And we'll lock that. So we want to get to here. So what is this one here? Let's roll a d20. 16 is more Scrub. Lock that. And then finally, the final hex where our location, our point of interest is more Scrub. So we put that there, lock it. And we've decided, because on a whim, our players ask these questions of the cleric, this patriarch who's out for redemption. He's saying, I'm on a quest for redemption to go kill this creature over here. And we get to that, and so we've already determined that there's going to be something here. We've decided on this hex there's something here. Maybe we want to roll for a ruins thing, or maybe a castle. Maybe we want to roll for a castle. So let's go back. Let's go to page 21. Let's say it's a castle. There's a castle here of someone who needs to be dealt with. So we're going to roll a d6 to see what the occupant is of this castle. So let's go to features. We'll put a castle in there on that spot. We'll roll a d6. 5. So there's a superhero here. So a superhero that's a little terrifying. That is going to be for character classes. Let's look at fighting man. So superhero is an 8th level fighting man. Or it could be we'll go with an 8th level fighting man. So he's going to be significantly stronger than this guy. We'll go back to castles here. So we're superhero. We're going to roll a d4 to determine who is here with this superhero. 4. He has d10 worth of swashbucklers. So he has 5 swashbucklers. So we need to keep in mind that swashbucklers on fighting men he has 5 level 5 fighting men with him. So already that's a little more terrifying than what we have as far as troops. We'll roll 3d6 times 10. So he has 80 regular guards staffing walls and fortifications. Half are light footmen with crossbows. Half are heavy footmen. See volume 20. See page 22 of volume. So go see the statistics there for that. And we already know that he needs to go kill this person. So he has less men, but he's going to be a little more powerful than a fighting man. And maybe you want to start doing a joust. Maybe he calls for a joust against this cleric who needs to redeem himself. Maybe because you have 80 people in this castle, plus 10, plus 5 level 5 fighting men, and an 8th level fighting man who's in charge, and this cleric is there to destroy him. Maybe this is like an evil, chaotic baron who's gone rogue and is, you know, hurting the people around the area. You've decided you could, with the rules in White Box, you could start laying siege to this castle. You could start, let's do a mass combat, like have the players take part in that, right? Why not? You know, why not let the players do that, and even let them take control of the cleric, that cleric that they encountered, and say you can control their troops and your characters as well, and you as the referee will control the forces within the castle that are being besieged. Lay out the miniatures of the tokens and start going to town on some mass battle, session 1. You know, why not? That could be a lot of fun. Depending on how things go, maybe the players sort of get into the good graces of the cleric who redeems himself. This leads them to having a patron who cares about them, who's willing to give them adventures and things like that. There's a lot of cool stuff that could happen, right? And we did all of this based on rules, and we started with nothing. We've already constructed this world where there's this evil superhero baron that lives in this castle who needs to be taken out by a cleric who's out to search for redemption and get back into the good graces of the church. And we have the starting of a map, and we can start using these wilderness generation tools to sort of, whichever way the players go out now from adventuring here, they can go do that. Super easy. I hope that this sort of explains, if you have a set of rules like White Box or AD&D or Scarlet Heroes by anything really by Kevin Crawford is really good with generative stuff like this. You can start generating stuff, and all you need is a little bit of imagination in interpreting the roles, and you can make some really cool stuff, some really interesting stuff. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. I hope that you enjoyed it. I will keep checking out and updating the PDF files. I think there's probably still some errors in there that I need to fix as well. But please, if you backed, please try and fill out the backer survey kit for White Box, survey form for it so that I can get your name in the book. I want to thank as many of you as I possibly can in that book. And, you know, I hope this answers that person's question. I'm sorry, I can't remember who you were. I tried to go back through, and this question was like a couple months ago, and I couldn't find that exact question. So hopefully you still watch the channel, and if you do, I hope this answered your question about how you can sort of you can start from nothing. Sit down at the table with absolutely nothing and start generating cool stuff right off the fly, right off the bat with really, really simple, easy to use tools. So that's going to do for this video, guys. I'll catch you guys in the next one. If you want to support this channel, you can on Patreon or here on YouTube as a YouTube member. Link to the Discord is below. Link to my Drive-Thru-RPG page as well if you're interested in getting more content from me as far as like games and things that I've designed in the past. White Box will be available to the public soon and beyond backers, hopefully soon, at least as far as PDF is concerned, if you only want the PDF. If not, you have to wait a bit longer for print on demand as well as the box sets. I'm going to order some extra box sets so that after backers get theirs, you will be able to buy a box set as well if you missed the Kickstarter and you're interested in some old school 0E that is influenced and uses chainmail to sort of fill in the gaps and complete some things. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.